Hey guys, welcome back to my astrology series. I'm going to be speaking about the Cancer Capricorn axis tonight. So yeah, the sun is in Capricorn and our full moon will be in Cancer on January 3rd of 2026. Yeah, so let's get into it. With Cancer, we're dealing with the moon, and with Capricorn, we're dealing with Saturn. The Cancer-Capricorn axis is, I like to think it's the grief and love of life. This axis can hold a lot of grief. And one of the reasons is because you're dealing with water and earth. Cancer is water and Capricorn is earth, and these elements just tend to be a little bit more they feel. There's an attunement to the environment and to the present moment with these signs. And so there's also, with that, there's also Cancer and Capricorn are really able to play on time. And what I mean by that is Cancer rules the fourth house, which is our roots, our ancestral lines. It's also our home. It can be where we go back in time to when we were children, like what our home environment was, specifically our relationship to nurture, our relationship to safety, and ultimately our relationship to the mother. Because our mothers is how we initially get our food, our nourishment, our love, our connection, our that feeling of being held by your mother, when when you're a baby. Those instinctual and primal aspects of our psyche. And so, but not just that, it also goes, it's more expansive than that. It's also, maybe you're an adult, and what does it mean to feel safe in your own home? What does it mean to live in an environment that is nourishing for you? What does it look like to feel like you belong in your environment? What does it look like to feel at home in yourself? You can take this as deep and as wide and any real way you want to go about it. A home is not just a house, and it's not just blood or family. It's also like, how at home can you make home inside of your own body? There's also a lot of ties to the ocean and the waves of life, the emotions, the deep intuitive emotional intelligence of Cancer, and of the mother and of the womb. Cancer is also known to rule the womb. It's a sign that is always feeling her way through, because she can't see, like, she's not the sun, she's the moon. And so there's like a sight. It's like seeing without actually seeing, and that energy is more of like, I'm feeling my way through the currents of life. I'm feeling my way through the dark. I'm feeling my way through intuitively, listening to my body, my cues, listening to my emotions, listening to my womb, listening to my cycle, being very in tune with whatever phase or aspect of my cycle that I'm in, and what I'm expressing at that time, and being very present with that. The moon goes through all of the signs of the zodiac in a cycle. So the moon is the most changing of all the planets. And, celestial bodies, the moon goes through all the phases of the zodiac very quickly, every single cycle. So something about Cancer that I think is really wise is she represents this feminine energy within all of us. So we get a little esoteric when we talk about the moon, right? Just like when we talk about the sun. And I'm sure one day, I will talk about the Leo Aquarius axis, and we'll get into Leo and the sun energy, but it is esoteric in the sense of like the moon represents our internal world. It's when we go within, it's when we feel, it's when we heal, it's being in a body of water can be really nourishing during a full moon in Cancer or a new moon in Cancer. It's not necessarily a rushing energy. A river can, have its rapids, but there's something about Cancer where it's like you're in a flow, but you're not necessarily rushing. Whereas like air signs can be in a hurry because it's a quick, the inspiration is quick, and then you make the movement and you talk about the thing and you do the thing and then and you're laughing about it, and it's like you're socializing, and it's like, a little bit of a quick zap of energy and you do the thing, and air can be quick. Whereas water, it flows, but it's not in a rush. Water just is. It's, you can tap into kind of an artist vibe as well. Like, if you're an artist and you're listening to this, when you reach that flow state and you're just in the flow, and like, even dancers, like if you're a dancer and you listen to this, when you do like a good wave in your dance move, like you just hit a wave, like that's also Cancer. Like Cancer is also just this flow. And the reason why Cancer wants to be in flow is because she's feminine in nature. She's feminine in nature, and she just wants to be in her flow state because it feels natural. And so sometimes we get, it feels like blockages around our flow, and that's where we go into our emotions just to see like what's blocking the flow of like my love, what's blocking the flow of like my creation, like I'm trying to create something right now, what's blocking it, what's blocking my ability to dance and sing and bake cookies and hug my babies and love my family, and like what's blocking that flow of love. And a lot of the times it's emotional and internal, and it's something that we have to kind of dive into, right? Dive into the deep end of the ocean and kind of explore what's going on there. Now, the shadow aspects of Cancer is like when it's a mothering energy, and so it's a womb energy, it's a creation energy, she holds a lot of the archetypes of the mother. And so something that I'll always tell Cancer placement dominant people is you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. It's not up to anybody else to meet all of your needs. You need to love yourself enough and create time for yourself, because we all know the mom that has sacrificed herself for everyone else and is the last to eat and does the dishes after she cooked, and she hasn't taken a shower and lotioned her legs and did her makeup in like 3 weeks, and she's tired and she's burnt out and she's doing all these things, and all of a sudden she explodes on everybody. or all of a sudden she's taking out her wrath around her needs not being met in a very passive aggressive or resentful way. This is the mother that kind of blames everyone else for when she has abandoned herself, when she hasn't taken care of herself. And unfortunately, it's just a shadowy aspect of, the mother archetype. So it is really important that we take care of ourselves, but also that we teach people around us how to take care of us and meet our needs. So many times we swallow our voice around what we need, and maybe we are still learning how to express our needs, but when we have a need, we need to not be afraid that if we voice that, this feeling of like, oh, well, no one can meet my needs, I have to meet all my needs. Well, you do need to meet a certain quota of self-care. Every single human being does. And it just so happens that mothers tend to put themselves last all the time. Now, there's some psychology behind that around, not trusting that if you walk away for an hour, that the house isn't going to burn down, or people can't clean up their own things, or people can't take care of themselves and be okay for a minute. And there's a little bit of like needing that validation, or needing that mother, like wanting to feel needed, so to the point where you're kind of like becoming this overbearing or helicopter mom or whatever, when in reality you need to go take care of yourself instead of helicoptering over your child, right? And maybe your child is the project. Maybe your child is the career that you've been building. Maybe your child is the dog or the cat or the bird or whatever animal you have. Doesn't have to be a literal. Everybody has a nurturing side to them. What are you nurturing in your day-to-day life? Everyone has babies that they birth. Even if you're a man, you have a sacral chakra, and so you're creating something, right? Maybe you build houses. Maybe you put together, plans for people, or lesson plans for teachers, or you're a teacher and you put together, projects for the kids to do. You're creating, you're utilizing your sacral chakra to create out in the world. And so no matter what gender you are, you carry a Cancerian mothering energy within you. Everyone has a mother line and a father line. And so your relationship to Cancer energy and the mother and nourishment and environment and attunement and intuition and creation, that's not gender specific, that's just people specific. We just have that in us. And so for the full moon, it's going to be very illuminated. We'll be very conscious about, where we're at with those themes. Whereas when it's a dark moon, there's no light. And so it can be more, that's why we plant seeds and we manifest and set our intentions during new moons, is because that's the most, all that darkness is really good for intention setting. Versus the fullness of a moon is shedding a lot of light. We can see clearly, there's clarity, there's answers. And so it's less of a setting of an intention, but receiving the information that we've been chewing with for that particular cycle. So this full moon, just kind of, maybe you could go back and listen to this again, get out a pen and paper and just write down okay, what's going on in my environment? What feels nourishing? What feels reciprocal? What feels healthy? What feels like my needs get met when I am with these people or when I'm in these environments? And then where is it in my life where I don't feel properly nourished or taken care of or loved fully for all of me and who I am? And that's the other part about Cancer, is that the moon goes through all the phases of the zodiac, and so this energy holds the fullness of the soul. And so another good thing to meditate on is with who, what, where do I feel like I can bring the fullness of me? and it will be received and loved, and I can give and receive in those dynamics, versus where I have to put on a specific face. I have to be a specific way. I have to show up in a specific energetic state in order to be received. And if I show this other side of me, that doesn't get loved. That's another thing with Cancer, because Cancer is very multidimensional. The mother is full of many expressions and many faces. It is the feminine aspect of God. So yeah, just that. So yeah, that's a little bit on the full moon. That's a little bit on Cancer. Obviously, there's so much more that I could say, but I'm going to move into Capricorn. The sun will be in Capricorn. And, so if Cancer represents this flow of love, right? Love is nourishing. Love is life-giving. It's the flow. It's watery. It's healing. It's emotions, right? This loving feminine energy. Capricorn, he holds this ability to kind of pull in from the other side of the veil and make things a reality. So Capricorn is very focused on like how to ground things into the reality. It's an earth sign, and it's also ruled by Saturn. Saturn is a very powerful planet. It's a very powerful planet because Saturn rules time. And Cancer and Capricorn have always done a dance around time, because if Cancer is ruled by this feminine mothering archetype, it has to do with cycles. And so Saturn having to also rule time, but specifically more of the karmic aspects of timing, they always are kind of in this dance of this cyclical nature of life and how everything has a season, a place, a time. And so when you hear people talk about divine timing, you'll never miss what's for you. When you hear people speak about like there's a season for everything, these are actually very Saturnian aspects of the wheel. And so essentially when you have a god that rules over timing, that can be very scary, because it's almost like you don't want to be waiting for things to happen, but you also want to be able to be really present and accept that when things are not happening, that there's a reason for it. So a lot of the times people have trouble with Saturn because Saturn is almost like this divine orchestrator. Okay, and I'm not saying that Saturn is the one God, one all, be all God. What I'm saying is that Saturn is a divine orchestrator, which means that Saturn wants to put things in place so that people can learn the lessons they need to learn and go through the cycles they need to go through in order to move people into their most masterful self. That is Saturn. And so the reason why people talk about Saturn returns are such a big deal is because there's a certain lesson or multiple lessons and themes within that sign, depending on what sign you have Saturn in, that you will have to go through many cycles, the cycle, Cancer, the other side of the axis, through many cycles to learn the lessons that you're meant to learn. And a lot of people have trouble with this because you feel like you're being punished, or you feel like you're going crazy, or you feel like you just can't get it right, or whatever it is. And the truth is that no, Saturn wants you to become a mature, whole, grounded, embodied being in this life. And Saturn wants you to learn from your mistakes. Saturn wants you to grow. And I think that sometimes we look to Jupiter for growth, and yes, that's very much true. Jupiter is a god of growth, but Saturn is not just this stagnant, stoic tree. This old oak tree still ages by the day and still grows new, fractals of itself, and it's still growing tall, even if it's already old and kind of stoic and wise in many ways. And so Capricorn holds this wise old man energy sometimes, and we can feel constricted by that, or we can choose to have the perception to look at things through the lens of love, Cancer, and come back into the present moment and really like milk and juice the lessons that we go through for everything that we can, because the truth is that at the end of this life, I hope that you've learned your lessons. I hope that you've lived fully. I hope that you've failed a million times and gotten back up a million times. And I hope that you get to the top of the mountain and you get the reward for all of your hard work. And like when you actually die, you will have learned the lesson that your soul has come here to learn. And so it's deep. It's mystical. There's depth to Capricorn. There's soul. There's soul here. It's not just this, the power structures and, it's not just structures and discipline, but yes, you need those things. I would even argue that Virgo has a more structure, practice-based like mindset a lot of the times, is very obsessed with daily habits and discipline and getting, doing the thing every day to get you to where you want to be. But Capricorn is slower in the sense of patience and not in a rush to get anywhere. And yes, there are things that Capricorn wants, but there's an acceptance with Capricorn that if you can accept where you're at in your life and you can become really present to the moment, then you can make decisions around whatever needs to be felt. It shares an axis with Cancer, so really pulling from that fourth house, those emotions, those nurturing aspects, like a Capricorn that can learn to integrate the mother and a Cancer that can learn to integrate the father becomes this like whole wizened elder. That's this axis. They're opposing energies, but yet they need each other. It's like this wise old woman and this wise old man, and they've been through it. And that's why I say sometimes that this is also the axis of grief, is because this axis is it's not always fun. Sometimes it's like the mundane, boring stuff, and you have to like find the joy in those moments, and that is becoming wise, is finding pleasure and joy and peace and acceptance of what is moment to moment to moment. And so there can be grief because of what it's taken for someone to come into a place of self-mastery, all the lessons that you've had to learn, all the people that you've had to love and let go of, all the places that didn't work out, the living situations that didn't work out, the family members that you no longer want to see, like the grief of letting go, like people who have died. There's a death aspect to the Cancer Capricorn axis as well, because when you're aware of soul and you're aware of the other side of the veil and you're aware of the depth of emotion and like how deep can one feel, well, there's no deeper love than loving someone who's gone. And grief is sometimes the only proof we have that our memories are not just memories, but that they actually happened at one point. I do believe that Capricorn is wise because of its pain and the amount of pain that one person can bear to hold within their body. And still remain present to what is and accept what is and keep going. And that's interesting. I also would say that there's a tendency to overgive in this axis, like just in general, Cancer, Capricorn can overgive, you know. We're talking about the parents, the mother and the father, and, you know, Capricorn has that same kind of energy where it's like, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't find the time to check in with your own heart and figure out where you're going and why, and, you know, Capricorn gets this reputation of work, and that's true. It rules the 10th house, which is our career, reputation, work, how we make money, these types of things. And I don't think people really understand, like, yes, Capricorn works, but Capricorn can also work really hard and pour a lot of energy into things that were never really meant to come to fruition, or can give a lot to things that aren't even truly maybe what they actually want, but perhaps they're giving to things that they think will help their reputation or will get them further in life on paper. Or like, you can get a little bit shallow with Capricorn if you're not careful, because at a certain point, you know, are you doing something because it's your soul's longing, or are you doing something because you think that's what your dad would be proud of you for doing, and it's like not even what you want to do, you know? Like, there's some of that. There's some father wounding in Capricorn sometimes, where maybe the Capricorn energy is continuously trying to do something that, well, this will make my family proud of me. This will give me the notoriety and the recognition that I feel like I deserve. This is what's gonna make people respect me and love me and honor me and see me for my gifts and my talents, when in reality, it's not even what you want. And maybe people don't end up giving you that recognition because it was never meant to be that. And so I have seen in my practice just Capricorn energy, people have a lot of Capricorn placements. I try to get them to get deeper into what they actually are working for. Because what you don't want to happen is you build a temple and then in 10 years you realize that it wasn't even what you wanted. You know, this is like when the woman goes to get a corporate job and climb the corporate ladder and focuses on her career until she's 50, and then she never had kids, and now she's realizing that she was working so hard for something she thought was going to bring her joy, and it didn't. You know, like this, that can be the downside to a Capricorn energy. So the medicine for that is to work towards the thing that sets your soul on fire, and know that you will get the recognition and you will be seen when it's something that's authentic to the core of who you are. And ask yourself what you really want every day. Wake up and ask yourself, ask your heart, what do you really, really desire? Because it might not be what you think it is. Yeah, so that was an interesting channel. That was an interesting read on the axis. There's so much more I could say about these two energies. I'm sure I'll make more on this axis, but mother and father wounds can come up during this time, but also maybe if you're not like in a space of wounding right now, you might just find healing in these archetypes, or you might find peace in your environment for once. And I hope that you are very present over the next week so that you can witness the beauty of birth, of what's to come and what's new. And so with that, I will close out 2025 with a prayer that you go into 2026 fully you, whole, abundant, blessed. And I hope that you take the risk on yourself And I hope that you dance to the beat of your own drum. And I hope that you fly and you soar and you reach new heights. And I hope that you let love flow. And I hope that you work towards the life of your dreams, because if you move with your heart, it's inevitable that you will reach what you desire, because what you want is wanting you. Okay, all right, bye guys.